Hello, YTPC. Parsimonious Piper here. On the back porch on a beautiful but breezy North Carolina afternoon. I've got a bowl of Milan Tobacconist's Cherry Velvet in a Pipe by Lee Bull Moose, rusticated. One of their later years based on the stamping. It's a nice tobacco and a pipe I love. Today I want to talk a little bit about this shelter in place and some of the anger, the self-righteousness that's going around regarding it. I'm seeing quite a bit of accusations flying that if you're not following all of the shelter in place orders to a T, then you are somehow selfish or arrogant. Unfortunately, some of this is coming from the Christian community as well. Specifically, I recently saw a citation of Jesus when he was asked what the greatest commandment is. He gave it, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and he followed that up with what's called the second commandment, which is to love your neighbor as yourself. And you can find this Matthew 22, Mark 12, Luke 10. And the accusation is that if you're not willing to shelter in place, that stay at home, that you somehow don't actually love your neighbor as yourself. But that assumes that shelter in place is the right thing we should be doing right now. That all of us should, in fact, be staying home. But a recent study out of Stanford University indicates that the true death rate for people exposed to this virus may actually be in the 0.1 to 0.5% range, not the 3 to 5+% that we've been fed by the media and our governments. This is not a right-wing conservative organization, Stanford, by any means. And if they're right, then that has some real implications about what it is that we're doing. If you follow some of the epidemiologists who are beginning to speak up, some of them from Europe, some of them from prestigious American universities like Vanderbilt and Princeton, shelter in place may in fact be the wrong thing to be doing. That in fact what we need to be working toward is building what's called herd immunity, which is where approximately 80% or so of the population has been exposed to the virus and survived it. We can't do that if no one is exposed to the virus, which we can't do if everyone is sheltering in place. Now, what some of these epidemiologists are in fact proposing is that right now the cat's out of the bag. We can't just undo all of the economic damage we've done with our shelter in place, but what we should in fact be doing is to isolate people who are in high-risk categories, people who are over the age of 70, people who already have some sort of chronic illness. As well as taking extraordinary precautions with people who live with them, people who care for them, to try and keep them from getting sick, because they are much more likely to die from the virus. However, their recommendations, and they vary, they're not exactly in line with each other, are that the rest of us should, in fact, go back to work, that we should start getting back out in public, that we take good precautions, but that if we don't do this, then all we're doing by flattening the curve is dragging this out and making it much harder and take much longer for us to reach that herd immunity that would help us to overcome this. Now, there isn't agreement on this. But some of the conflicting advice that we're getting comes from preeminent professionals and quote unquote experts in these fields. So the short of it is, we really shouldn't be self-righteous in assuming that we know the motivations of the people around us, of people who aren't following all of the orders. They may in fact be doing us all a favor by helping to spread the virus. At this point, we don't know. But is it worth destroying a friendship, a relationship, over something that you can't determine? God knows the heart, but we don't. So let's extend a little bit of grace to each other. Personally, I'm staying at home. My employer wants me at home. I don't have anything to do outside of home, primarily because everything is shut down. So I'm sheltering in place. Of course, I make exceptions when we need to go grocery shopping, or a couple of times my wife and I have gotten out in my little Miata and taken a nice little spin just to maintain our mental health. But we're sheltering in place. Is that necessarily the right thing for all of us to be doing? I couldn't begin to tell you. I'm beginning to suspect that maybe it's not. So like I said, extend a little grace. People that you know who aren't sheltering in place may love their neighbor every bit as much as you do. For now, that's all.